to pass away. He passed away this time last year. He passed away in his sleep at the age of 84. And to retire, and I've got the phonetic spelling there, retirement, is to stop working, especially when you reach the age when you're officially too old to work. So you retire and you get to spend time doing what you want to do. He retired from the Army last month. And what's this one? To settle down. So settle down means to like stop playing, stop studying, and just live your life as a mother or a father or a husband or a wife or as a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You stop playing, you stop going out all the time and stop partying with your friends. You settle down in your home or in an apartment, or you buy a house, or you start living with somebody who you love. It means settle down. Say, settle down and get married. To begin to live a quieter life by getting married or staying permanently in a place is to settle down. Are you ever going to settle down and get married? Nowadays, many people don't want to because, well, some people think that there's no benefit to settling down nowadays. Before, settling down mean you could have money and have a house, but now it's getting more difficult to buy a house and a car, and it's difficult to send your children to school and university and hagwon. So people don't want to settle down. They think, why should I, right? At least that's how American people think nowadays, and I think many young Korean people are feeling the same. How about yourself? Do you want to settle down? I notice that many of the guys want to, but can't, and many of women nowadays can, but don't want to. But it could be different for every person. And what's this one? This one is very, very sad. It happens because some people don't love each other forever, or they don't love each other the same way forever. And this is split up. Like split is to cut, right? To split up. To end a marriage or romantic relationship. If you end a marriage, then you not only split up, but you legally get a divorce. But if you just split up from your boyfriend or girlfriend, then you don't divorce, you just split up or end the relationship. Her parents split up a few months ago. And many of you have already have had a difficult breakup, a difficult split up in the past, right? Even if it was only for a few months or a few years, it can still be difficult, I know. Okay, well, the next thing we're going to talk about in this class is modal verbs. And they're again from Unit 5. They talk about modal verbs. In particular, they're talking about modals of obligation, things that we should or the things that we have to do. Okay, so in this case, we're going to talk about can, will, have to, must, and might. And we're going to talk about a little bit different ones when we look at the book afterwards. So can. You can take a break when you're tired, something that it's possible to do. Will. The weather will be really cold tomorrow. And this is where we talk about something that's going to happen for sure. If you remember the simple future tense, will is a version of that. Have to. You have to work really hard to pass the proficiency exam. So this is again an obligation, something that must be done. Which brings us to the next one. Have to is a kind of synonym for must. You must have a driver license to drive a car. You have to have a driver license to drive a car. And might. This means like maybe. I might go to Starbucks with my friends after school. So these ones are used a little bit in the book, but there's another set of them we're going to talk about and do some activities with after we finish this. Can. Of course, we all know this word can. Can is linked to abilities. Can is linked to abilities. So in the first picture, do you recognize who that is? You probably know the two sisters, Venus and Serena Williams, right? They're some of the best tennis players in the world, champions. Some people said they were a little bit aggressive, but in any case, they were really good. So they can play tennis very well. Do you recognize who is the second person? Well, I hope that you do, because she's important in the history of world art, but just in case you didn't, I put her name there, Frida Kahlo, a Mexican painter. So of course, what can Frida Kahlo do? She can paint very well. And in the last picture, I put, yes, Gang Kyung-ha. You've probably seen her on the news a lot recently, and she's been on the international news because she speaks English very well. I don't know, she sounds like maybe she lived abroad for a very, very long time since she was young. So what can she do well? Well, she can speak English very well, I know that. She can communicate very well. She's good at politics. She can do many things very well. So can, of course, is linked to ability. That's a kind of elementary review for you guys, but it's going to be some of the questions in the book. Will. It's a simple future. I will read these books tonight. You will do your homework. You will join us for Zoom class. You will stay home until the coronavirus epidemic is finished. Will, again, very common review, but it may be on the test. A few of them, again, we already had it on the test before, but have to. We have to arrive at school before 8 o'clock. You have to graduate if you want to get a job. You have to practice driving if you want to get good. You have to practice speaking if you want to understand English. So, right, talking about obligation, something that needs to be done, has to be done, or else you will face the bad consequences. So again, have to, didn't really come out 100% there. You have to keep breaking your heart until it opens. You have to keep breaking your heart until it opens. That is the famous Persian poet named Rumi. He said lots of good stuff like this. Of course, you can understand the irony of that statement. To break your heart until it opens, break your heart. You have to keep doing it. And if you do, then your heart will open and you will have love for everybody. I think it's a kind of good quote to share with you guys for today. I think you know what it means. If you do, I'm really curious if you send me a message about that quote, because I like to hear different interpretations of these kinds of things. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Of course, if you have some project to do, you don't have to be great, but you have to start. It's not necessary to be great to start, but it's necessary to start if you ever want to be great. I'm sure you guys can understand that one pretty well, right? And must. So, of course, there are many different signs that we see on the road that indicate things that we must do. Must is maybe a little bit stronger than have to. It has a slightly stronger. So must, and of course its opposite, must not. Must not do something. So different signs here: straight, prohibited, must not enter, right? Trucks must not enter. Cycles must not enter. You must not make a left turn. You must not make a right turn. You must not park here. Although in Korea, I feel like no parking. People just park wherever they want in Songwon, right? In some places. Okay. Here's a little funny little comics here. I don't care what you do during the night, but you must be in the office at 9 o'clock sharp. 9 o'clock sharp meaning exactly at 9 o'clock. Of course, Batman would have a difficult time to come into work at early in the morning because he's up at night fighting criminals all night long. It's just a kind of joke. You must be at the office. Must be. Should. Should. Why should we hire you? And should here, of course, meaning uh, a good idea. Something that it is a good idea. Why is it a good idea that we hire you? Why is it a good idea that we hire you? Should. So, of course, a doctor should wash her hands and should be patient with her patients. Personal trainer, somebody who helps you at the gym, helps you get in shape, helps you lose weight, helps you gain muscle at the gym is a personal trainer. They should know how to use equipment. They should be a good example. Secretary should be organized and should be kind, should be personal, able to deal with the boss and other people on the phone. An artist should be creative, should be hardworking, shouldn't be lazy. What about a student? What should a student be? How about a professor? How about a teacher? How about good parents? How about a good son or daughter? What should they be? What should they do? They should be diligent. They should be honest. So have to versus must. So these are modal verbs that are used slightly different, as I said. So when we use must, it usually means that the speaker thinks it's necessary. Have to often means that not the speaker, but another person thinks it's necessary. Okay. Must isn't a matter of my own personal opinion, but have to is like an external obligation. You have to take care of your parents when they're old. Okay. The obligation comes not from you, but from someone else. Must is often used in written rules or instructions, whereas have to is kind of like factual, not an opinion. Okay, the teacher is giving the students an obligation or giving the students instructions. Well, the teacher gives instructions. You must complete the essay by Friday. But the student says we have to complete the essay by Friday. So the teacher is giving instructions and the student is communicating an obligation, something that they have to do. We use had instead of must in the past tense. I had to pay my speeding ticket yesterday. I got a speeding ticket. I was driving too fast. I had to pay it. We don't say must. Past tense of must is had to. Have to is more common than must in questions. When do you have to finish the report? So when we're asking the questions, we generally in American English don't say, when must you finish the report? It sounds very, very, not incorrect, but sounds a little bit strange. So in those cases, past tense or questions, if I ask you on the test, it's going to be had or have to. Might and might not. Why did he use might? It might not be a good day for a picnic. It's cloudy and a bit chilly. So it's a modal verb that expresses the probability, how likely something is to happen. So expressing 50% chance that something is not true. It might be true, it might not be true. It might not be a good day for a picnic. It's cloudy and a bit chilly. That's why he used might, because there's a chance it might be okay. It might be an okay day for a picnic. So it's talking about probabilities. I'm sorry, probabilities. Remember, we use can't have and couldn't have differently with possibility. So if it's less than 50% probability, we'll say may have, might have, could have, may not have, and mightn't have. If it's like 99%, we'll say can't have or couldn't have done it. And of course, 100% is was. You could have gone to London for your holiday. It was possible. You can't have gone to London. It's impossible that you were in London. I can't believe it. You couldn't have gone to London. It's impossible. It's too expensive for you. So it's all about probability, meaning how likely something is to happen. How likely something is to happen. So modal verbs might. Suggestions. Something you're suggesting to someone else. You might want to take a break. You might want to review the videos before you take the quiz. You might try this cake. You might not see him tomorrow. Possibility. It might rain today. I might possibly go to the theater tonight. And conditional. If something happens. If I had waited longer last night, I might have found out about it. If I enter the contest, I might win. So conditional meaning if something happens, something else might happen. Not will, but might happen. Okay, well let's take a look at page 48 in the book. So we're going to read the story about May. And we're going to take a look at these questions about Faye. I'm sorry, Faye, not May. Let's read along to this story. Let's read along to this story. From adolescent to adulthood, Faye is an only child and lives with her family in Shanghai. She is studying law at Jiao Tong University and she'll turn 18 in a few weeks. My goals are to get my degree, go to Australia to study marketing, and then to come back and find a good job. China is changing, and you can earn a lot of money now in China. When I'm earning a good salary, I'd like to do more traveling, but I have to take care of my parents too. They're going to retire soon. They've given me a good life, and I have to do the same for them. This is the way things are in China. and it should be the same everywhere. Usually when you get married, you're only allowed to have one child. However, because I'm an only child, I can have 2 children if I marry another only child. Anyway, at the moment it's all a dream, because I'm single. I like reading stories on the internet. I also like reading fashion magazines like Vogue. I think my favorite thing is to go shopping with my friends. We can't afford to buy much, but it's fun to look in the windows and think about what we're going to buy when we have more money. So take a look at the questions underneath. Let's talk about Faye's life. What does Faye hope to do in the future? Well, you probably remember Faye said she hopes to study marketing in Australia and come back to China and earn a big salary. Then she hopes to get married. Why does she want to find a job in China after finishing school? Well, she said China's changing and you can make a lot of money in China now. Why does she feel she should take care of her parents? Well, she says her parents have given her a good life. Now they're about to retire, remember retire, finish working, and she should try to give them a good life as much as she can. How many children can most couples have in China? Well, you probably know most couples could only have one, although I think that's changed now. But she might be able to have 2 children. Why? Well, because she was an only child, and if she marries a man who was an only child, then they have a special privilege. They can have 2 children. And why do Faye and her friends like to go window shopping? Well, window shopping, you remember window shopping in Korean is eye shopping, right? You can't afford something, what do? Then you go window shopping. You just like to look at the stuff, right? You just like to look at it. Okay, well, let's go on to the next page. Page 49, the grammar in active grammar. So you look at the top, the active grammar, and it is talking about, again, about modals of obligation, things that you have to do, things that you have to do. So modal of obligation says, 1, you use can to show that something is possible, that it can be done, we discussed about. You use have to show that something is necessary. So you must do it, but it's an obligation rather than an instruction. You should to show that something is probably a good idea. You should buy a new car if your old one is more than 10 years old. Use can't to show that something is not possible. You just cannot do it. It's impossible. Use don't have to show that something isn't necessary. You must not do it. And 6, use shouldn't to show that something isn't a good idea. Isn't a good idea. Okay, these are kind of review based on what we discussed before. Any of them from the book or from the video can be on our quiz or can be on our final test. And then we're going to go on underneath the grammar box on page 49, part 4. You can take a few minutes to do it, and then we're going to talk about it. You can pause the video if you need to. Number 1, you blank spend the night at my place. we have a spare bedroom. So it's a good idea. We have a spare bedroom, meaning we have an extra bedroom. My place is a kind of conversational word in English for 집에, my house, my place. Young people in my country blank have to do military service. It stopped last year. Don't have to do military service. Conscription. Many countries in the world, around the world do have to do it. Most do not have to do it. You might be surprised, but in the United States until 1975, Americans had to do military service, and Americans often had many wars. So many American students who are your age had to go to a war. Nowadays, though, you can sign up. But when I turn 18, I have to sign up for a card that says I will do military service if there's emergency situation. But in Korea now, everybody does it, right? But every year, every few years, it gets shorter and shorter time that Korean student men have to do military service, and maybe in 10 or 15 years it will completely stop. I think everyone blank in elections. Okay, it's should vote in elections. Should vote in elections. It's our duty as citizens. Well, since it's our duty, that implies an obligation. So if it's obligation, what should it be? Right? Everyone must vote. Could also work. I think people blank come to work in jeans. It looks bad. It looks bad. So it's not a good idea because it looks bad. So I think people should not come to work in jeans. Okay, well, remember quiz is May 29th to the 31st. You're going to log into our class portal. You can take it from May 29th at 12 p.m. until May 31st at 11 p.m. You can use your videos, but the time limit is 65 minutes, so you have to finish it within the hour and 5 minutes. I looked at your guys' times last time, and most people finished it much under that, so it should not take very long. Please make sure you're in the right class. You're in the Junghwa class, your correct class for your day. You're not registered in sports business or in global English or some other class, okay? Okay, guys, well, if you have any questions, please send me an email. Always good to hear from you. Maybe next week we'll talk about when we're going to do another Zoom class. I'm not sure. Some students have a difficult time to get to Zoom class, so I'm not sure about it, but maybe we'll try one on the week of the quiz. I haven't guessed yet. I'll let you know next week. Okie dokie. Okay, guys. Well, it's always nice to talk to you, and I will see you next week, or talk to you next week. Bye-bye.